Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some really fun spice in the Master League, Heatran. Heatran is a Fire and Steel type Pokemon, running Fire Spin, Flamethrower, and Iron Head as the moveset. Heatran is often overlooked as a fairly useless Pokemon in Go Battle League, but this trainer is looking to try and change some minds. For the team, they're running Yveltal on the lead, Heatran as the save switch, and Metagross as the closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's take a look at Heatran in action in the Master League. Picking up a fairly neutral lead in the first match, Yveltal into Dialga. They do have two better responses in the back, so going to instantly save swap into Heatran, but the opposing Dialga is not switching out. This is generally a fairly favorable matchup for Heatran, so honestly, totally fine that they're staying in. Dialga reaches the move, and this is a tough shielding decision. Lets it go, but it's the Draco Meteor! That does huge damage, in comes Lugia, and Lugia is able to farm down. Fortunately, they do have Metagross. Metagross does handle Lugia quite well, but even a resisted Aeroblast does a significant amount of damage. Metagross opting to shield, and they correctly shield the Aeroblast. That is quite nice, as now they will be able to outpace and get to 2 Meteor Mashes before the Lugia reaches their second Aeroblast. Farming up, and they are able to get to that second Meteor Mash, and this will be taking out the Lugia if they decide not to shield. But Lugia is wanting to get that damage off, and they are willing to commit the final shield. Aeroblast will not KO, but it will get Metagross quite low, and then you might look to bank a move and switch out. They swap into Yveltal, and back in comes Dialga. Dialga is getting somewhat low after the Fire Spin damage, so they should be very close to Dark Pulse range. Dark Pulse does not quite KO, and they're just not able to farm down. At this point, Yveltal's the only healthy Pokemon left alive. You have to commit the shield. We know they have a very low health Lugia in the back. What is their third Pokemon? And it is Metagross, and things are looking pretty nice here, as Yveltal will be able to get to the Dark Pulse, and this will be doing big damage. Unfortunately, the Metagross is getting close to a move. They switch in their own Metagross, and an incredible catch. Able to catch the Meteor Mash, and from here you can just snarl down. The opponent brings back in the Lugia. They go for a Disrespect Focus Blast on the Lugia. Oh my goodness, double resisted, farming down the Metagross, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match and picking up a terrible lead, Yveltal into Zacian. Going to instantly save switch into Heatran, but unfortunately Heatran will still be taking big damage from close combat, so we'll definitely need to commit the shield. Zacian close combats and dips into Yveltal, but this is not much of a better matchup if the opposing Yveltal is also running Focus Blast. Flamethrower forces a shield, but the Yveltal only goes for a Dark Pulse, which lends me to believe that they could be running Hurricane as the nuke move, which honestly makes this a fairly neutral matchup. Heatran able to reach another Flamethrower, and this will be doing a solid chunk of damage as it is unshielded. Yveltal does reach a move, but Heatran, realizing it can farm down, deciding to commit the shield. They will be able to farm down Yveltal, and they're fairly close to a move. In comes Dialga, but Heatran on very low HP is able to reach a Flamethrower, and this will be doing some big neutral damage, gets the shield, and a simultaneous switch, Yveltal into Zacian. At first, this looks pretty rough, but honestly, you kind of had to bait back out the Zacian. I think the win con here is going to be farming down the Zacian with Metagross, and from there, hopefully you will be able to outpace the Dialga and get to the Earthquake to take them out. Deciding to undercharge, so recognizing that they are going to need to farm down the Zacian, but the Zacian should have 2 charge moves loaded. Wild Charge will KO. In comes the Metagross, and this will be the close combat. From here, their defense will be 4 stages debuffed, so you should hopefully be able to farm down, but the switch clock is up, and back comes in Dialga. Dialga should be approaching the move, but an amazing catch onto Heatran. Oh my goodness, catching the Iron Head, and from here, this game is over, as Metagross able to reach the Earthquake. Earthquake will be taking out the Dialga, and the very low HP Zacian in back gets farmed down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up another Dialga lead. Like in the first match, going to instantly save swap into Heatran, and again, it doesn't look like the opponent has a great response to Heatran as they're staying in with Dialga. building up with the flamethrower, able to force the shield, and Dialga's at a move. Last time they no-shielded and it was the Draco Meteor. They shield and they correctly shield the Draco Meteor. Huge shield call and in comes Mewtwo. But Heatran is not done. Going for another flamethrower. This will be doing a solid chunk of damage and it is no-shielded. That gets Mewtwo very, very low. At this point, Heatran's done its job. They let it go. It's a Focus Blast, but that means that Yveltal should be able to safely farm down and have an energy lead for that Dialga. But the opponent brings in Zacian, which is terrible for Yveltal, but fortunately, that means that Metagross has two good matchups in the back. Close combat will do a lot of damage, and now in comes Dialga. Metagross farming up, going for the Meteor Mash bait, but I don't think they're going to be able to reach two moves here, as that close combat plus the Dragon Breath damage will probably be taking them out, and they're not able to get there. Yveltal does have a move. This Dark Pulse will be taking out Dialga, but from here, can Yveltal with a shield take out Zacian? All charge moves are of course resisted, as well as the Snarls. The question is, are they running Wild Charge or Play Rough? Calls it, it's the Play Rough. Play Rough does do big damage, but importantly, Play Rough does not one-shot, and it's very hard to snarl down a Dark type. From here, they land the Focus Blast. Can they get the Dark Pulse? And they're able to get there. Is this Dark Pulse going to be enough? Dark Pulse takes out the Zacian, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a fantastic lead Yveltal into Mewtwo. The opponent safe swaps into Dialga and is instantly met with Heatran. These fire spins are doing some nice damage onto Dialga and able to reach the flamethrower. We have yet to see a flamethrower land on Dialga. This one does and does big damage. Dialga will be able to reach the move though. They should be enough for the Draco Meteor. They are letting it go. Draco Meteor does not KO and Heatran is able to farm down. That is knowing your IVs right there. Oh my goodness. Low battery notification coming through as well, but even that is not going to be able to stop them. Yveltal able to get to the Dark Pulse. This will guaranteed force a shield from Mewtwo. Mewtwo shields, and they have Shadow Lugia in the back. And at this point, this game is over. Honestly, didn't even really need to switch into the Metagross. Yveltal could have easily closed out the match, but you have the Metagross, you may as well use it. Meteor Mash does big damage, and yeah, at this point, they are shielding up, but again, they don't really have to. Unfortunately, they do get baited. Metagross going for the aggressive farm down, and they're just not able to do so. I believe this is the Aeroblast. Aeroblast from Shadow Lugia almost KOs. Oh my goodness, that thing does damage. Fortunately, able to survive on 1 HP. Meteor Mash gets the shield, and then back in comes Yveltal. They are going to be able to get to the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse more than enough to take out that Mewtwo, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up another Zacian lead. Absolutely terrible. Again, going to instantly save switch into Heatran, and going to need to commit the shield once Zacian inevitably close combats and then dips. They close combat and they safe switch into a Melmetal. Melmetal, not the best Heatran answer. Of course, it does have the ability to hit for super effective with superpower, but they're taking super effective damage from these fire spins and from the flamethrowers, and those fire spins have Melmetal almost at half health already. Melmetal firing back. At this point, you've already gotten shield advantage. I think you just let this go. They go for the bait with the neutral rock slide. That is not enough to take out. And again, I think you just no-shield this and you rely on your shield advantage to help you win this match. Now, the Melmetal has already debuffed themselves by one stage, so these superpowers won't be doing as much as they typically would. It looks like they may be going for a very aggressive farm down with the Metagross, but this Melmetal has a ton of energy, so they may even be able to reach a third superpower. Superpower number 2, and they do reach the third. So Metagross will be getting quite low, but will have a ton of loaded energy. Metagross able to farm down. We'll have to see what the third is, and it is Mewtwo. Mewtwo will be taking some rather large damage from the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash gets them very low. Metagross almost able to farm them down, but not quite. They will commit the shield as Side Strike would be KOing from here. The opponent aggressive swaps Zacian. Unfortunately, Zacian is going to get absolutely banished by Meteor Mash. Able to bullet punch down. Metagross closing strong in the endgame. Hopping to the next match, we have Yveltal into Giratina Origin. Incredible lead. The opponent safe switches Zacian, and their Zacian is going to get absolutely bodied by this Metagross. Metagross throwing early because they will have to commit a shield to maintain switch, so you may as well throw yourself in order to make sure that you don't have to go down on shields. First close combat will get them low. The Zacian actually farming up, so doing a very nice job there of not debuffing themselves by 4 stages early, but unfortunately still not able to reach a third close combat. Giratina Origin will be coming back into farm down, but thankfully enough, the Metagross is very low, and it has a Meteor Mash loaded, and that will be able to do a nice amount of damage onto the Giratina. And unless the Giratina is running Dragon Pulse, all this energy is completely useless against Yveltal. They have Togekiss in the back, they bring in Heatran, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, picking up a terrible lead, Yveltal into Togekiss. They save switch into the Metagross, and they're met with the Giratina Origin. I definitely agree with the decision to save switch the Metagross in the event of a Togekiss lead with this team, just because Heatran is definitely the harder counter to Togekiss overall. Now, Metagross actually shielding in this matchup. They correctly shield a Shadow Ball, so it looks like they may be trying to make a play for switch advantage. Throwing the Meteor Mash, they force the shield, and this is probably just going to be an Ominous Wind. So from here, the question is, can they farm down before Giratina reaches another Ominous Wind? It's going to be very close, but they're able to farm down and take switch advantage. The opponent has Dialga in the back, going for the Meteor Mash, hoping that the Dialga has not been counting, but they have. They decide to no shield. But from here, this should be pretty close to Dark Pulse range, so you just go in with Yveltal and you start throwing Dark Pulses, as this will be getting them quite low, so I am expecting them to shield, which they do, and you can threaten another Dark Pulse to force them to throw. If this move doesn't kill, you just instantly switch into Heatran. Thunder will definitely kill, and now in comes Heatran. Now that we know that they don't have Draco Meteor, Heatran should be able to comfortably survive a Thunder and farm all the way down. We'll see if they bring in the Togekiss, which they do, and now they're going for the Iron Head. Charm is double resisted in this matchup. Iron Head lands, does big damage. Heatran able to farm all the way down. They leave with the Iron Head. Heatran going absolute beast mode in the end game, and that is a good game. All right, hopping into the next match, we are leading Yveltal into another Togekiss. Oh my goodness. Save switches into Metagross, and this feels like a replay of the last game almost. Another Giratina Origin. Going for the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash does land, but this time the Giratina throws earlier, and they're actually going to let it go. The opponent actually baits with the Ominous Wind. Can they get to another Meteor Mash here? They cannot. That is tragic. Fortunately, Yveltal will be able to farm down, but unfortunately, that farm is not going to have a lot of use going up against Togekiss. Yveltal going for an aggressive farm down. They're able to get there. Unfortunately, they are stuck in. The switch clock was not quite up, so they will have to throw the Dark Pulse in order for the switch clock to be up. And now they bring in Heatran, and the opponent has Melmetal in the back. Now this, as we've seen, is an okay matchup, but it'll depend on whether they can shield the superpowers. Unfortunately, the Melmetal goes for the Rock Slide. That is quite tragic there. So they are still at full attack and defense. Baiting with the Iron Head, very nicely done, as at this point the opponent basically has to shield. Now this is a tough call. Are they going to superpower? They shield up and they correctly shield the superpower. That's absolutely massive. All future attacks are going to be doing less, and now these fire spins are going to be doing even more damage, and they make an incredible catch. They're able to catch onto Yveltal. They catch the superpower. Back in comes Togekiss to farm down. But here is where Heatran can thrive. Able to get to the Iron Head. Iron Head will, of course, be taking out the Togekiss. Heatran is still so healthy. They get the Fire Spin through as Melmetal throws. They are outside of superpower range. Heatran able to farm down, and that is a good game. All right, and hopping into the final match, leading Yveltal into Groudon, and it's a Mudshot Groudon. This is an incredibly good matchup for Yveltal, and on top of that, the fact that the opponent is staying in, even better. They go for the Focus Blast here. Focus Blast puts it into a very awkward health range where typically 2 Dark Pulses is recommended, as 2 Dark Pulses will be able to KO. The opponent save switches into Dialga, and we've seen how this match goes. In comes Heatran. Heatran going for the Flamethrower. Flamethrower gets them quite low, and from here, as we know, they should be able to comfortably survive the Draco Meteor. Deciding to let that go, Draco Meteor comes through, Heatran living on 1 HP and able to win the zeros. My guess is they'll probably send back in Groudon to get a bit of an energy lead, but that energy will be pretty useless going up against Yveltal. As Yveltal, it looks like maybe going for a very aggressive Snarl down here, but the Groudon does have a decent amount of energy. Let's see what they have in back. They have a Metagross in the back, and at this point, this game is over. Able to get the shield. Yveltal going to be able to put in a ton of work, going to be able to get the second shield here as well, and then you can just bring in Metagross for mop-up duty. In comes the Metagross, and with a 2-0 shield advantage in the mirror, this game is already over. As they can very safely shield, the opponent has every incentive in the world to bait, but it's not going to help them. Earthquake will be taking out the opposing Metagross, and then all that's left in the back is the Groudon. Groudon is not going to be able to reach enough moves. Metagross farming down, and that is a good game. All in all, some incredibly fun battles with a pretty spicy pick of Heatran in the Master League. I'll be honest, prior to these battles, I thought Heatran was pretty terrible in the Master League, but it may be better than I initially gave it credit for, especially seeing how well it performed against some staple Metamons like Togekiss and Dialga. As to whether I think it's worth investing in, that I'm still not 100% convinced. It definitely has its moments, but for now, I definitely feel like it lands a bit more towards the spice category than towards meta. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.